Okay. Oh, started recording.
There you go.
My guest today is Linda Rowntree, and Linda has a whole range of talents. And I personally know some of them. She's also written a book, but I'd like Linda to tell you all about it. So she's the star of the show. Over to you, Linda.
Bless you. Thank you, Vina. Yes, we've known each other, or we met a long, long time ago, didn't we? And it was exciting time, I think, for me. And during the course of the years that have gone on in between, I have realized that we get more help than maybe we understand or know. And so what I thought I would do is I would write a book about all the things, the extraordinary things that have happened to me. And the thing is, when you start noticing them and when you start making note of them, then they happen more and more. And I called my book, The Universe is Talking to You, because it does all of the time. And the inspiration for it came about because my granddaughter was quite young at the time and she wanted to learn Harry Potter magic. And so I said to her, well, there is magic in the world, but not maybe, as you understand it with Harry Potter. And so I was then talking to her about all the different things that happened to me, the experiences that I had, especially around when she was born and that kind of thing. And so that's kind of how it started, me recognizing what was going on and how the unseen do help us. And then having that conversation with her and starting to collate all the information and recall what I remember happening and all that sort of thing. And so I published it last year and it went really, really well. And I still get lovely comments from people once they've read it, and they'll then come to me and say, oh, this happened to me, isn't that good? And I say, yeah, it's magic, it really is good. It is, and it's not a question of kind of giving your power away, because I have had that sort of like said to me before, well, if you rely on what's going on out there, then you're giving your power away. But I don't believe that at all, because it's a bit like you asking somebody for help to do some decorating and you need them to hold the ladder. You're not giving them your power away, you're actually just asking for a little bit of help and support. Now, if they were to come along and say, I'll do it for you, and you don't want them to, but you let them do it anyway, that's when you give your power away. So what I'm offering here is the idea that, like I said, the unseen, it can be family members, it can be friends, it can be ascended masters, angels, archangels, spirit guides, whoever. It's just, or the universe, if you want to call it the universe source, because we have to be a bit careful about what we call it. And
our audience, just so that our audience is a little bit clear about what that actually means. Are you talking about channeling? Are you talking about mediumship? So when you get these messages, would you call that channeling, or are you being a medium and just being the instrument that information is coming through from?
Well, any of all that, really. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm running a course called Gift, and it's for people who have that connection with the spirit world, with mediumship, but don't want to do readings the same way that I do. Mm-hmm. And so it's helping them to develop that connection that we all have, because traditionally it was thought that everybody could be a psychic, but not everybody could be a medium.
Yes.
But I don't believe that. I do believe that not everybody wants to be the medium that I choose to be, and in as much that I give one-to-one readings to people, but you can still be a medium in the way that you connect with the spirit world. You can get them to help you create. If you're an artist, you can get them to help you to create a painting. If you like writing and channeling, you can get them to help you do that. You can get them to give you help and support if you're feeling down, and you want that feeling of.
Yeah, that's great, that information, because I'm sure many people absolutely don't know that. And it's been the case for me that I've had people who don't even call themselves anything. They'll just stop and actually give me a message. They don't even realize it's a message, and they'll just
Mm,
say, you're going to be doing this and you're going to be doing
mm,
that. And I think they don't know me. They don't know anything about me. Why would they say that? And then when I ask them, they actually don't call themselves anything. They just do it, have no label for it. They just know they do it and it
mm,
comes true. So yes,
mm.
I think you're right. Many people have many of these gifts and it comes through in different ways. So I think our audience is going to love to hear that.
It's you know, you just have to be willing to create a connection. And you just have to be willing to accept whatever's given to you in the moment. And if you can give it off, that's really good. And if you can't, then sit with it and, you know, try and understand why it's being given to you anyway. Yeah, it's I love it.
Yes, obviously you do. And do you think you have to be any kind of a type of person? Because knowing you, I know you're a very gentle, lovely, soft lady, and you've always struck me as being that way. So do you think you have to have certain characteristics or be a certain way, or can it literally be open to anybody that wants to access um, the spirit world?
Mm. I feel anybody can access it. It's how you choose to work with it or develop it that's the important thing. So if you've got someone like myself who absolutely loves it, enjoys the connection, understands, you know, a bit about how the universe works and all that kind of thing, and I want to help people, you know, I desperately, well, I say desperately, that's my passion, to help people find their soul purpose, to be able to fulfill you know, the dream life that we all should have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you might get somebody else who thinks, well, actually, I know that about them, so you know, I'm going to treat it in a slightly different way. That's where the negative side comes into it, because sometimes it can give you a sense of power, and that's not what it should develop. It should be love and compassion and openness, and a willing to help, and a willing to heal, and a willingness to encourage people, rather than, you know, think, well, yeah, I know that about them, so, you know, maybe I'll use that in a particular way. Or, for instance, can I give you for instance?
Yes, please.
I run classes, and I had this young man come book on a class, and it was really interesting because in those days my classes, I used to do them on a one-to-one, but with a large group. In person, I mean, with a large group. And this particular time, he booked on this course, and I had nobody else book on it, and I couldn't get it because that's not what normally happened. Anyway, it was how to read the tarot, and he was there, and his sole purpose for being there was because he wanted to learn the tarot, because he needed to know about a girl that he was working with. Now, that's the difference as far as I'm concerned. He was wanting to learn it, wanting to share that connection that we all have, but in the wrong way. He was wanting to use it to manipulate someone, to know all about them. All he got
Yeah.
to do was ask her. She worked in the same office as him, so all he had to do was befriend her
Mm.
and ask her. But there was something about him that he couldn't do that. So he was then wanting to learn it so he could use it in a different way. And
Mm.
I did say to him in the end, you know, what your intention is through working with the cards isn't right. It really isn't. This isn't how it should work.
Mm. But I think, as with anything in life, there are always going to be those that misuse
Mm,
anything up, isn't there?
indeed.
Take things home from work when they're not
Mm,
supposed to,
mm,
there's always going to be. And I always think it's a small minority. I don't think the majority of
mhm,
people do that, from traveling all over the world and just seeing, different people of different religions and cultures and backgrounds. People generally all over the world, they just want to get on with life, do their work, go home, be with their family and children, have fun times
mhm,
with friends and family, barbecues,
mhm,
picnics, going to the beach. And generally, that's what people want. And that's the
mhm,
majority from what I've found. And then,
mhm,
it's the small minority that tends to spoil it for the
mhm,
others. But just coming back to your special talents, I just want to ask you, you're able to get messages from animals that have passed on, haven't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Would you like to share one of those? Because I'm sure people don't even realize that animals have that level of intelligence. And even though they've passed on, they can give those intelligent messages to people like yourself, who then can pass it on to people who are still grieving over their lost pets. So would you like to tell us one example of a really special time that you gave a message?
Animals communicate all the time, but only 2 weeks ago I had a lady come for a reading, and I never only have a first name with people, so I never have full history or anything, and she came for reading, and so I just got into my zone, got into the understanding, asked for whoever wanted to step forward that particular day should step forward, and 2 dogs came forward, and she was quite surprised because she wasn't sure if I could do that. And I said, well, this is what I have. I've got 2 dogs. One's lean and very, very long-legged. I said the other one is a little bit more stubbier. And she'd got 2 dogs. One was a greyhound, ex-racing greyhound, and the other one was not Rottweiler, but very similar build to a Rottweiler.
When you say you've got them, is it that you have a feeling or a vision or both? Can you just tell us how you know that you have animals with you?
It's a bit of both, because we all have gifts. One, and they will be attached to your senses. So there'll be the gift of seeing, the gift of hearing, the gift of feeling, and so that's kind of how the information comes to you. And it will be the same whether it's on a psychic level or a mediumship level. And these 2 animals showed themselves in my mind. If spirit are going to show themselves out there, then it does take up an awful lot of energy for them to be able to do that. So the quickest and easiest way is to give you the image or the information in your mind. So it might come through as a picture, or it might come through as a thought. Sometimes it just comes through as a knowing, especially with the years that I've been doing this now. And so I knew that I'd got these 2 dogs there. I could see them. And she confirmed that. I said there are other dogs around. I said, but it's these 2 that stepped forward. These were the 2 that had passed recently for her, and the one especially she'd had from a puppy, and the owner of the mother had tried to abort the puppies and it hadn't worked. So the person who'd taken them in had said to her, there's something not quite right with him. We're not quite sure. We'll be honest right from the start. And she said, but he just needs a good home for now. So she was happy with that. She took him in, and he budded up with this greyhound that she already had. Now, when he came through, he's a Rhodesian Ridgeback, by the way. I've just remembered what it was. And when he came through, he kept saying to me about the bell. The bell was too loud. The bell was too loud. And she said, I'm not understanding the bell. So I said, okay. So I went back to him and I said, what is it about the bell? Because she's not understanding the bell. Can you give it to me in a different way? Can you show me something different so I can understand it better? And he gave me the idea that it kept clanking, but he was hearing it as a bell. And she said it was the letterbox, and it would clank and he would go absolutely berserk. So I then linked in with him and I said, right, so what is it about this clanking then that you don't like? And he had super sensitive hearing. And it was just that clank would sound like a really, really high-pitched bell. And afterwards, when we were talking and she told me his history, we kind of gathered that that was what the issue was with him. Everything, he was just on high alert all the time because of this hypersensitivity to sound. And obviously you don't necessarily know that because animals don't talk to us as you and I are talking. They talk in a slightly different way. But anybody with a pet, I would encourage them to just sit and hold them in your mind. Give them thoughts. You know, how are you today? Is there anything I can do to make your life a little bit better? And they will share. You will know. They will give you an image. They will give you a thought. They will give you an understanding, and they will know, and you will know as well what it is that they need.
It's amazing. I've watched animals communicate with their owners. And there was one particular one, and he'd had an accident, and he'd had some surgery, and he used to sit on the owner's table, and she'd say, "Oh, you're not all right, are you?" And he would actually talk back in meowing. He'd say, "Oh, meow, 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 meow." And I was in shock, as though, my goodness, that's it's cat language. He's actually, and they'd have this kind of conversation, and she kind of, you get the gist of what he was trying to, no, I'm not really, this is hurting, that's hurting. When we would go for a walk with the dogs, we would walk the dogs. The cat came along for the walk. He'd walk with us all the way down. And I used to think, it's not even a cat, it's more like a dog. So it's quite extraordinary, when we're open-minded, the kind of things that we can see and notice about animals, and the conditional love that they give to their owners. I sometimes wonder who's actually taking care of who.
Well, it's a 50-50. In a lot of cases, it's a 50-50, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, that's really nice. Can you maybe just give people that might be interested a little idea of how it works? Like, if they wanted to be able to be in that situation where they could communicate with past loved ones, of course, they can come to people like you, and we'll put your details down in the bio, in the link. But if they were wanting to try that communication themselves, is there something that they can practice? Is there something that they could do so that they can open themselves up for that communication? And also, could you tell us if there's any danger of anything with that?
If you're starting from at the beginning, then I would say the first thing I would do, especially if you're going to do it on your own, is to connect with a guide of some kind. Whether that's family member, because families will step forward to help, whether it's a guide that you don't know, but they're willing to help you on your path, then that's the first place I would start, especially if you're going to do it on your own. Then every day I would sit with the intention of connecting with that spirit person, and I would just ask them to keep you safe, and allow the spirit world as a whole to step forward. Not individuals, but as a whole. So you're getting an understanding of the connection with the spirit, and they're getting that understanding of the connection for you as well. So if you do take it further and do want to work, then in the way that similar way to how I work, then it makes that connection that much quicker, that much easier, and safer.
That does make sense, actually. Yeah, obviously, if you've got lots of passed on loved ones, if they're together, yeah, it does make sense that you'd be more protected, because people that are new to this, I would imagine that would be their greatest worry and their greatest fear, is that, you don't know what entities, what beings you might be inviting in. And I suppose some people, they wouldn't exactly see the spirit world as being the spirit world, but might think, oh, well, there are ghosts and demons and all sorts on the other side. But yeah, that's really good information.
You see, ghosts, sorry, I was going to say ghosts are just a physical representation of the spirit. And so when you see them, like I say, you very seldom get much more information. You just see them because all their energy is being taken up with that. But just sit within yourself and just ask for that help and support, and it will come. I know it will come.
That's lovely. I just wanted to ask you if you could share something that you've a reading perhaps that you've had recently where you've really helped somebody, something where they couldn't possibly have known or have come across the information had it not been for the message that you gave them. Is there something that comes to mind that you could share? There's probably lots, actually, is there?
Well, one especially, probably about a month ago, and I had read for the lady before, but I don't always remember what has been said. And she came and I said, I recognise you, must have read for you before or seen you before. And she said, yes, you have. It was a while ago now, she said, but the reason I'm back is because you did so well. And she said, you actually saved my husband's life.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, did I? And she said, yes, she said, because you told me he wasn't well. And she said, you also told me that he wasn't sharing. And so I went home and I said to him, right, what's up? What's wrong?
That's typical, isn't it? Men and husbands, they don't tell their wives things.
Mhm.
Yeah, wow.
And it turned out he had super high blood pressure, and he's now semi-retired and he's on medication and he's doing really well.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, congratulations again.
But honestly, when she was saying, I didn't remember,
Mm,
because sometimes when you're in the moment, you're so trusting of what's being given that it just is in your mind and it comes out with you even being conscious of it.
mm.
But I trust and believe that whatever happens is for the highest good.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't work for any other reason than the highest good of the person that I'm connecting with.
Yeah. And that's maybe something that if anybody wants to have a try, or they go to somebody and they're not feeling exactly 100%, and they may be a little bit worried or nervous, they could say that, couldn't they? That
Mhm,
I only want anything of the highest good
mhm,
to happen in this
yep,
meeting, in this situation,
mhm,
and
mhm,
psycho protection as well. So yeah, that's
mhm.
lovely. Okay. Is there anything else that you're working on? Because you said you do courses as well. So could you tell us about the courses that you do?
The one I'm partway through at the moment, which is a new one, is called The Gift, and it's for those people who do have the gift of mediumship, do have that gift of connection, but don't want to do what I do with it. So I talk them through how they can connect, who they can connect with, how they can use that connection, and if they then go on to want to do readings, then that's fine. If not, then they can use it to support themselves in their everyday lives, whatever they choose to do with it. I also moved into coaching a couple of years ago because I am a therapist as well, complementary therapist, do reflexology and Reiki and all that kind of thing. And I wanted something that would kind of bring it all under one umbrella. And the coaching kind of does all that, because I do healing within the courses that I run. And I called it intuitive transformational life coaching, but I've since shortened it to intuitive TLC because it just trips off the tongue better.
It makes sense.
And
Yeah.
I use that intuitive gift that I have, like I said, in a slightly different way, to help people with any blockages that they might have, any limiting beliefs, because they are huge.
Mm,
And everybody knows that term, so that's why I use that term. We then go through a process of helping them to heal it so they can move on. And yeah, I just have fun. I just love what I do. So it's
yeah, that's
fun.
really lovely, isn't it? Yeah. So do you do anything else as well? Because I think with a lot of people, especially people with your kinds of abilities, they have many talents. So you can write a book, you can do coaching, you can do healing, you can give messages from people that have died in this
Mhm,
world but are
mhm,
existing in the other world, and they come through.
mhm.
Um, do you have any other talents, or are you full time with these gifts? And I'm not saying they're small by any means, but I tend to find that people that have these gifts do many, many things. It's not just, a little selection. They tend to have two or three jobs where they're doing different things, and then they're trying to maybe run a business on the side, and then they do other jobs, other things as well. So is there anything else that you?
This is all I do. I um
That's quite
I
fortunate
run my own
to do that.
I run my own business,
Yeah.
and I have done since 2004. And this is all right from the moment I sat in my first circle. This is all I wanted to do. And I was a corporate accounts manager at the time, so I had good pay packet. I had job security.
Mm.
I was very good at what I did. I had a team of six that worked with me, and I gave it all up to do this. The first one I did was an angel workshop, and I just put it out there. What should I do if I'm going to give up my day job? I need to have some kind of income, because we all do. And
Yes.
I got the idea of doing an angel workshop, and that was the first one I did, and I sold that out 3 times over. It just kind of went on from there. I went with my intuition, the ideas that I was being given, and it hasn't failed me, not at all. So
what was it you say that gave you the courage to do that? Because obviously, if you've got a corporate job and
Mhm.
everyone's saying, yes, she's successful, she's got everything going for her in life, and people acknowledge and recognize that, don't they? They call that success. And then you're leaving all of that behind to go into something that people are going to say, sorry, you've done what? You're doing what? Um, what was it that gave you the courage? How did you step away from, what was safe and normal and acknowledged by everybody into something that's not so,
Yeah,
not
no, because absolutely. And in those days, it wasn't so well known. I was so unhappy. That was the trigger. I was so unhappy. And so I then had semi-retrained as a complementary therapist, and I was doing that evenings and weekends. Got to saturation point, couldn't do anymore. Wanted to go part-time at work. They didn't want me to do being a manager part-time, and I understood that. And again, I got to saturation point. I just couldn't do anymore, and so I just put the thought out, I'm so miserable, because I thought that if I could do my day job in the morning and then do my therapies and other things in the afternoon, evening, it was a good balance.
yes.
But all it did was show me that I didn't want to be doing that anymore.
Mm.
And I was so unhappy. The crux came when I sort of got up one morning, put my feet on the floor and burst into tears, because I didn't want to go into work, just didn't want to go into work.
Mm. And
I spoke to my
COVID years, it was even before.
It was 2004.
Yeah.
And so I spoke to my husband, and he said, look, you know what financial commitments you've got. He said, if you feel you can do this, then go for it. So I did.
Oh, that's lovely. Everything worked out then. It seemed like the universe was conspiring to help you out the whole time.
But this is what they do. All I did was put the thought out one morning. I was taking my daughter into college, and I was going into work. And I said to her, do you think if I left my body to medical science, they'd pay me now? And she's gone, oh, for heaven's sake. And I said, well, we're a little bit short of cash. I said, so, it would be really nice to have a bit. And and I didn't know what the law of attraction was in those days. Nobody had heard of it. And 2 days later, I had a car accident, which did a lot of damage to my lower back, which then I went to a mind, body, spirit fair, had some spiritual healing, which was a miracle. And I then got into Reiki for myself. And that is just how it kind of threw me into this world of magic, this world of energy, and how it can work, and how it was working for me. And so that was right at the very beginning. That is in my book, by the way. I have put that in there, that little story.
Read of that. Actually, I had a little situation where I was married, my boys were little, we had a house. I thought I had everything. I thought, well, I don't need any more from life now. I've got two lovely children. I'm happily married. I've got a lovely home, and lovely extended family. I don't need anything. I ended up in a car accident, well, a motorbike accident in central London. The bike knocked into my chest, and I was unconscious. I didn't know this. I was unconscious in the road, and I looked up and I wondered why my shoes were in the road away from where I was sitting. And I could see somebody with a mobile phone. I think he more wanted to show his mobile phone. Shall I phone? And I'm looking and I'm confused because I don't quite know what's happened. Then I realized that I'm on the ground in the road and there's traffic on either side, and there's a motorbike that's fallen over and the driver's some feet away from it. And then I kind of pieced it together. So after that, it kind of came to my mind, well, you did say you had everything, didn't you? And then it was, be careful what you think. And I thought, oh my goodness, my thinking actually brought that on. And it was to warn me, don't have thoughts like that. It's not helpful and it could be fatal.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And the thing about thoughts, if you will find situations and people that will come to you that will support it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So whatever you think about yourself, whatever self-talk you have,
Yeah.
that will go out there as an energy, and it will come, because energy, like energy, will attract like energy, and it will attract all sorts of people and situations to support what you're thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That's what I found as well. Yeah. Linda, we've got the last few minutes now.
Mhm.
Can I just ask you now, the role that meditation plays in all of this? Does it play a role? If so, to what degree do you do it?
Yes, I do a meditation before I get out of bed in the morning, and it's probably a bit more like mindfulness, that one, but I do it every morning just to remind my body that the cells need to regenerate in a complete and perfect way, and so I do that, and then at some point during the day I will have 10 minutes to myself, where I just sit, close my eyes, and I kind of ask myself questions, or sometimes I'll just sit there and see what happens. But that's very important to me, that 10 minutes. At some point, I might even connect with the spirit world on a daily basis and just put the thought out, that I haven't sat in the power for a long time, but I'm intending to do it now. So with the spirit world as a whole, draw close to me. And so they generally do, but not for any other reason than just for me to know that they're there, and just to recharge that connection that I have with them. So yeah, it's very important. There is a saying, and I can't remember who it's by at the moment, that if you don't go within, you will go without.
That's really good. I like that. Yeah,
I might have made it up, because I do find sometimes that things come out like that, and I think, oh, where did that come from? Can't find it. I do think I've seen that somewhere. Somebody has once said that if you don't go within, then you will go without, and I thoroughly believe that.
yeah,
Thoroughly believe.
yeah. So you'd say meditation is quite key to going within and to making
Mm.
those connections.
What I would say to people though is, because I do teach that as well, and people are so wanting to have nothing in their mind.
Mm.
And I do say to them, look, if you're expecting to have nothing in your mind and to be completely thoughtless, then the only way you'll do that is if you don't have a life, if you don't have connections with people, if you're fit and healthy and looked after and what have you, or sitting on a mountain somewhere 24/7. It can be achieved, but people expect that right from the word go, and that doesn't always happen.
I think you can tame monkey mind, but you can't actually stop it. You
No,
can,
we're thinking people.
yeah,
We are. What we have to do is slow that down, clear that out, and then you can meditate, and you can allow then for things to pop in. Meditate with intention if you want, or meditate with just the intention of allowing things to happen, and see what happens, see where you go with that.
it's interesting you should say that. My book's called Intention Meditation.
Is it? There you go. Superb. And I
Fixed.
didn't know that. Channeling it. I must be channeling it.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, well, thank you very much. I will put all your information, should people wish to contact you, your book and your contact details and your email if you.
Thank you.
So I'm very grateful that you've taken the time to be with us today. So thank you very much.
I'm very grateful to be here, believe me.